Another retirement myth busted. So I posted a video the other day. I can't remember exactly which one it was. But a guy commented, it's very, very interesting. He says, why do I got to worry about keeping up with inflation during retirement? I never kept up with inflation while I was working. I said, man, that was a great comment, dude. So I had never thought about that. I think I pinned that comment. I can't remember. Maybe I did, maybe I didn't. But I said, man, that's a great point. How many of you guys actually have COLAs over your working lives? I mean, I bet not a lot of you guys did. I just know. Like teachers, a lot of times they don't get an automatic cost of living adjustment. A lot of times from legislative action. It might be, 3 years later you get a 2.5% COLA or something like that. I mean, I don't know about policemen. I don't know how that works. I would just regular day-to-day office cubicle workers like your old buddy Josh. Now I used to get 2.5. I think it's 2.5 to 3%, but it wasn't guaranteed every year at USAA. But they used to give us a 2.5 to 3.5% when I was at USAA. But when I was self-employed, not self-employed, when I was a broker, not only did not get cost of living adjustments, my salary is going down because the first the first 5 years I had some sort of salary. I think they gave you, I want to say $50,000 the first year, and then it go down by, I almost want to say 20% thereafter. Until year 5, you had no salary anymore. And if you weren't making enough in commissions to cover your lack of salary, well, first you never stay. I mean, they'd fire you. But still, you weren't guaranteed a cost of living adjustment. And some guys got no cost of living adjustment at all because they weren't selling enough in order to have the salary be replenished, and on top of that, they wanted to grow. You see what I'm saying? So a lot of us, hell, before that, I don't remember anything when I was at the bank getting a salary. A lot of times, the only way you get a salary improvement is if you change jobs. I mean, sometimes you might get a cost of living adjustment, but a lot of times if you change jobs, that's when you get a bigger salary increase. Your current job will say, all right, we'll give you a 3% cost of living adjustment, if that, but for you to get a higher one, you're going to have to change jobs. Very interesting, actually, how that works. But, I'm thinking back to my career. I've had a lot of jobs, dude, and sometimes you got a cost of living adjustment, sometimes not. How about you? Put it in the show notes. After you fondle the like button, put it in the show notes. During your working career, were you getting automatic cost of living adjustments on your income? And I guarantee the vast majority said they just weren't. I don't guarantee it. I imagine the vast majority of you guys just weren't throughout your career. I guarantee some jobs you did, like I had at USA, is basically depending on 2.5 to 3.5. If you're exceed expectations, you got 3.5%. If you're, below expectations, you got 2.5. I don't know what it was. But, we'd get pretty fat bonuses. But sometimes the bonuses would actually be reduced depending on how the company did. So if you're making $100,000 a year, there's no guarantee the next year you'll make $100,000 plus inflation, none whatsoever. I never thought about it like that. So why is this thing in retirement? Why are all these guys over here not going fast? I'm stuck in traffic. Why is this thing in retirement says your consumption adjusted with each and every year with inflation, when your own income before you retired wasn't adjusted each and every year with inflation, and yet you're able to pay off your debts before you hit retirement? How do we know that? Because the vast majority of retirees own their home, and the vast majority of those people own their home with no debt outright. So how are they able to do that if their consumption or if their income wasn't keeping up with inflation? If their income wasn't keeping up with inflation, then their consumption, if it's keeping up with inflation, then guess what? Either their income is much, much higher than the consumption, or they took on a lot of debt. There's the only way around it. If your consumption is higher than your income, you're taking on debt. If your consumption is lower than your income, you don't have to take on debt. So if your consumption is lower than your income, and your income isn't keeping on with inflation, and then your consumption is growing by the inflation amount, and your income isn't keeping up with inflation, at some point, your consumption expenditures will be larger than your income. Which means the only way to deal with that would be to take on debt. And yet we notice, again, the vast majority of retirees own their homes, and the vast majority of them own their homes outright. So they aren't taking on debt. Credit card debt's gone up a little bit, for sure. Small potatoes relative to home mortgage and stuff. Car loan debt has gone down. So there isn't the evidence in terms of looking at a survey of consumer finances and whatnot that says that retirees have gone into retirement with a whole lot more debt than they had when they're still working. So if your income hasn't risen with inflation, and you haven't taken on debt, in fact, you've spent down, you paid off your debt, what does that tell you? That tells you your consumption wasn't really keeping up with inflation even while you're working. So then why did we get this whole thing that I need a certain level of income, adjust each year with inflation to keep my lifestyle, my standard of living correct, when that has never happened? Didn't happen before retirement. Why will it happen in retirement? Well, it's just something to think about. Love your thoughts. God bless.